I deserve to be happy. Don't look for me. My wife wrote after draining our savings and running off with a coworker. 18 years later, she came back demanding to be a mother, but my son's words sent her into panic. When I came home that Tuesday evening, the house was silent. Too silent. The kids' toys were neatly stacked, her closet half empty, and next to the coffee maker lay a torn sheet of paper that said, "I deserve to be happy. Don't look for me." Our bank account was empty. So was the life we'd built together. My name is Samuel Cortez. I'm 47 years old now, but this story begins when I was 29, working in construction in Querétaro, Mexico. Back then, I thought I had it all figured out. A stable job with Constructora Velázquez, a modest two-story house in San Juan del Rio with a manageable mortgage, and a family that seemed as solid as the foundations I helped build every day. Angela Dominguez de Cortez, my wife of 6 years, and our 3 children. Miguel, 5 years old, Sarah, 3, and little Emma, just 18 months old. I was the kind of man who believed in showing love with actions, not with words. 50-hour weeks, overtime when it was available, making sure the bills were paid and the kids had everything they needed. My salary in construction was 7,500 pesos a month. It wasn't much, but it was steady. Angela worked part-time at a dental office downtown, managing appointments and insurance paperwork, bringing in another 5,000 pesos a month. Nothing glamorous, but together we covered our Infonavit mortgage payment of 3,200 pesos, the car payments, and the basics with a little extra for future ballet classes for Sarah, Little League registration for Miguel, and quality daycare for Emma. If you enjoy stories of cold revenge and shocking twists, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are new and unpublished stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. Looking back, I realize I was living in a carefully constructed illusion. Angela had been smiling during breakfast just 3 days before it happened. She had made pancakes for the kids. She kissed my cheek as I walked out the door with my lunchbox and hard hat. "Have a good day, Sam," she said, as if she really meant it. It was a Tuesday in March of 2007. I remember because we had just received our tax refund, 8,500 pesos that we had planned to use for a family vacation to the Huasteca Potosina that summer. I got home at 6:30 in the evening, expecting the usual chaos of preparing dinner, getting Miguel ready for his baseball practice that week, and Emma's bedtime routine. Instead, I found silence. The house felt wrong immediately, too quiet, too clean. Miguel and Sarah were at my mother's house. I would find out later that Angela had dropped them off there that morning with some excuse about running errands. Emma was at daycare, and I needed to pick her up before 7 p.m. or face late fees. I called Angela. No answer. Her 2004 Chevy Aveo was not in the driveway, but that wasn't unusual. She often ran errands after work. But something felt wrong. Our bedroom closet was half empty. Her jewelry box was open. Most of the pieces were gone. Our joint bank account had been accessed that morning. I would later discover that she had withdrawn 7,000 pesos, leaving just enough to avoid overdraft fees, but taking most of the tax refund money. On the kitchen counter, folded neatly next to the coffee maker, was a piece of notebook paper with her handwriting. "I deserve to be happy. Don't look for me." That was it. No explanation, no goodbye for the children, no contact address. Just 10 words that shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. I stood there for maybe 5 minutes, reading those words over and over, hoping they would make sense. They never did. Reality hit me in waves. First, the immediate panic. Emma was still at daycare. Miguel had baseball practice that week. Sarah needed dinner and her bedtime story. Then the deeper understanding. This was not a fight or a temporary separation. Angela had planned this. She had methodically packed, taken money, arranged for childcare, and left. She had made a choice, and that choice did not include her children. I picked up Emma from Los Girasoles daycare that night, her chubby little arms reaching for me as always. At 18 months, she was just learning to walk steadily and could say mama and dada clearly. When she looked around the daycare room, she said, "Mama," with that questioning tone little kids use. I told her mama was gone, using simple words she could understand. It bought me time to figure out what to tell the older kids. My mother, Carolina Cortez, lived 20 minutes away in Tequisquiapan. She had raised 5 children, mostly on her own, after my father died when I was 12. If anyone could help me navigate this mess, it was her. I called her from the daycare parking lot. Sam, what's wrong? She knew immediately that something was wrong. Mothers have that radar. Angela left. Mom, she's gone. She just disappeared. There was silence. Then, I'll put on coffee. Bring the kids here tonight. That's my mother. No drama, no questions, just solutions. The next few days blurred together. I had to miss work, something I had never done unless I was truly sick. Constructor Velasquez was understanding, but I knew I couldn't make a habit of it. Construction jobs don't come with unlimited personal time. And I had a mortgage, car payments, and 3 children to support on my single income. I found out about the affair through Angela's sister, Lisa. She called on Thursday night, guilt eating her alive. Sam, I'm so sorry. I thought you knew. She's been seeing a guy from her work for months. Ricardo something. They're in Ciudad Juarez now. Ricardo Gutierrez. I called the dental office looking for Angela. Dr. Palacios' receptionist let it slip that both Angela and Ricardo had quit on the same day. Tuesday, the day she left. No 2 weeks' notice, no explanation. They had emptied their desks and walked out together. The betrayal cut deep, but I didn't have time to wallow in it. Miguel asked every morning when Mom was coming back. Sarah, at 3 years old, didn't fully understand, but she noticed something had changed and became more clingy, always wanting to be near me. Emma kept saying, Mama, and looking around hopefully. I had 3 confused and hurt children depending on me to hold everything together. I made a decision that night, sitting at my kitchen table with a beer and a pile of bills. I wouldn't chase her. I wouldn't beg her to come back. I wouldn't even speak ill of her to the children. Instead, I would build something better. I would become the parent she never was, and my children would grow up knowing they were loved unconditionally. The logistics were brutal. Daycare costs for Emma went from part-time to full-time, an extra 2,200 pesos a month that stretched our budget to the breaking point. I had to switch to the first shift at Constructor Velasquez, which meant less overtime pay, but it allowed me to pick up the kids at 6 p.m. My mother helped when she could, but she still worked part-time at Bodega Herrera and had her own bills to manage. Money was tight. I canceled cable TV, switched to a basic cell phone plan, and started buying generic brands at the supermarket. The kids noticed some changes. Of course they did. Why don't we have the good cereal anymore? Miguel asked one morning. I told him we were trying new things, being adventurous. He bought it because 5-year-old kids want to believe their parents have everything under control. 3 months after Angela left, I hired a private investigator, not to bring her back, but to make sure she couldn't surprise me with custody demands later. Javier Mondragon, the investigator, charged me 1,500 pesos up front and found them in 2 weeks. Angela and Ricardo were living in a studio apartment in Ciudad Juarez. Ricardo had found a job at another dental office, earning about 11,000 pesos a month. Angela was waitressing at a restaurant bar called Chili's, probably making 8,000 pesos with tips. They're struggling financially, Javier reported. Multiple late rent notices. Both of their cars are behind on payments. The studio's rent is 3,500 pesos a month, which is stretching them thin even with their combined income. It doesn't seem like they planned this very well. I filed for an uncontested divorce and full custody in the family court of San Juan del Rio. Angela didn't contest it. She didn't even respond to the documents served to her at her Juarez address. Her silence spoke louder than any defense lawyer could have. By Christmas of 2007, we had found our rhythm. The kids still asked about their mother, but less frequently. I had decorated the tree alone after they went to bed. Wrapped presents I had bought with overtime money from weekend jobs. I made Christmas morning as magical as I could manage on our tight budget. Miguel got a 180 peso baseball glove from a sports store. Sarah got coloring books and a big box of crayons. Emma got a stuffed elephant from Bodega Herrera that she immediately adopted as her constant companion. This is the best Christmas ever, Sarah announced, hugging her new coloring books. I almost cried right there. Not because it was true, it wasn't. No, really our Christmas budget was 600 pesos in total, compared to the 1,800 we had spent the year before. But because she believed it, because despite everything Angela had taken from them, she hadn't taken their ability to find joy in the little things. It was then that I realized something important. My revenge would not be dramatic or public. It would not involve destroying Angela's new life or exposing her to friends and family. My revenge would be silent and devastating. I would raise 3 children who would never need her, never miss her, and never forgive her for choosing herself over them. The irony was perfect. Angela had left to find happiness, but she had abandoned the one thing that could have given her lasting joy. Now, that joy belonged entirely to me. By 2010, 3 years after Angela's disappearance, we had built something solid. During those years, we learned to function as a team, the kids and I. They were tough times, but every small victory made us stronger. I had been promoted to crew supervisor at Constructora Velasquez, which came with a significant raise and better IMSS insurance. My salary had increased to 12,500 pesos a month, and, with careful budgeting and occasional weekend work, we were finally comfortable. The kids were thriving. Miguel, now 8 years old, was playing Little League baseball and getting mostly 9s and 10s in second grade. Sarah, 6, had discovered she had real artistic talent. Her drawings covered our refrigerator like medals of honor. Emma, 4, was potty trained, speaking in full sentences, and was the star of her preschool group. But the biggest change came in the form of Karen Estrada. I met Karen at Sarah's parent-teacher conference in October 2010. She was there for her daughter, Jessica, who was in Sarah's first-grade group at Benito Juarez Elementary. Karen was recently divorced. She worked as a registered nurse at the General Hospital of Querétaro, earning about 12,000 pesos a month. She had this way of talking to children that put them instantly at ease, treating them like real people rather than little adults who needed to be managed. Your Sarah has incredible talent, Karen told me after we both finished our conferences. Jessica talks about her all the time. They're quite the artistic duo in Mrs. Perez's classroom. We started talking, and I found myself staying in that elementary school hallway longer than I had planned. Karen had been through her own divorce battle. Her ex-husband had been having an affair with his business partner and had tried to hide assets during the settlement. She had fought for 18 months to get what she and Jessica deserved. The thing about betrayal, she told me over coffee at a local cafe 3 weeks later, is that it teaches you what really matters. Not the person who left, but the people who stayed. Karen understood the weight of single parenthood, the exhaustion of being everything to your children, the way you question every decision wondering if you are enough. But she also understood the fierce protectiveness that comes with it. When she looked at my children, she saw them as individuals with their own personalities and potential, not as baggage or complications. The relationship developed slowly and carefully. Karen never tried to replace Angela or rush into a parental role. She made her own space in our lives, naturally. She taught Sarah more advanced drawing techniques and helped her frame her best pictures. She helped Miguel with his math homework and attended his baseball games. She read bedtime stories to Emma with different character voices that made us all laugh until our sides hurt. By Christmas of 2011, Karen and Jessica had become part of our family traditions. We went to see the Christmas lights at Jardinzenia together. We made cookies and exchanged modest gifts. By the summer of 2012, after careful consideration and long conversations with all the kids, we moved in together. Karen sold her house in El Pueblito, and we found a larger 4-bedroom rental in Juriquilla with good schools and enough space for everyone. The rent was 8,500 pesos a month, more than I had been paying for my house, but manageable with both our incomes combined. I proposed to Karen on Emma's 7th birthday in March 2013. Not because I thought the children needed a mother figure, they had shown they could thrive without one, but because I had fallen in love with a woman who made our already good life even better. The engagement ring cost me 3,500 pesos, 2 months of careful saving, but her reaction was worth every peso. Now are you going to be our real mom? Emma asked Karen after she said yes. Sweetheart, I've been your real mom for a long time, Karen replied, kneeling to Emma's level. Now it's just official. The wedding was small and inexpensive. Family and close friends at my mother's church in Tequisquiapan. The total cost was 12,000 pesos that we saved for over 6 months. Miguel, now 11, was my groomsman, too young to be a best man in the traditional sense, but perfect to stand by my side. Sarah, 9, was a bridesmaid in a dress we found on sale at Liverpool. Emma, 7, and Jessica, 8, were flower girls in matching dresses Karen made herself. It was everything Angela's and my wedding had not been. Genuine, joyful, surrounded by people who actually wanted to be there. Angela had been completely silent for 6 years at that point. No birthday cards, no Christmas gifts, no phone calls, no child support payments. The children had stopped asking about her completely. When friends or teachers asked about their family, they talked about Karen as their mother, without hesitation or clarification. In early 2015, I received divorce papers from Juarez. Angela wanted to make our separation official so she could marry Ricardo. I signed without hesitation and had them notarized the same day. No spousal support was requested, probably because she knew she had no grounds after abandoning the marriage. No custody arrangements were discussed because she had already legally abandoned her parental rights through 8 years of complete absence and lack of support. The irony was not lost on me. Angela had left to be free and find happiness, and now she needed my signature to move on with her life. Meanwhile, I had found more happiness, stability, and genuine companionship than I ever had during our marriage. By 2018, 11 years after Angela's abandonment, our rebuilt family was thriving in ways I could not have imagined in 2007. Over time, we adapted to a new normal, one that turned out to be better than the old one. Miguel was 16. He was a junior in high school with a 9.0 GPA and genuine college prospects. He had grown into a confident and responsible young man who worked part-time at a local supermarket and was being scouted by several universities for their baseball programs. Sarah, 14, was winning regional art competitions and selling small paintings at local craft fairs for 150 to 300 pesos each. Emma, 12, was president of her middle school class and active in student government, showing leadership skills that made teachers predict great things for her future. Karen had legally adopted all 3 children in 2016. They had requested it themselves, wanting her last name and wanting the legal recognition of what had already been emotionally true for years. The adoption process cost 22,000 pesos in legal fees, but seeing their faces when the judge made it official was priceless. The judge asked each child individually if they understood what adoption meant. "It means Karen is going to be our mom forever," Emma, now 12 and articulate beyond her years, had said. "Like officially forever, and no one can take that away from us." It was then that I realized my revenge was complete, even though the final act had not yet begun. Angela had lost more than a family. She had lost the opportunity to know the incredible people her children had become. She had missed first days of school, science fair victories, baseball championships, art show ribbons, first heartbreaks, driving lessons, college prep, and thousands of small daily moments that truly matter when raising children. She had traded it all because, according to my periodic internet searches, Ricardo had left her in 2017 for a younger woman. Angela was working as a cashier at a Walmart in Juarez, living alone in a studio apartment, with no apparent prospects or relationships. But the most perfect part of my revenge wasn't what Angela had lost. It was what she could never reclaim. My children didn't miss her, didn't need her, and didn't consider her part of their story. She had made herself completely irrelevant to their lives, and no amount of regret or attempts at reconciliation could change that fundamental reality. The doorbell rang on a Saturday morning in April 2025, 18 years after Angela walked out of our lives. I was in the kitchen making pancakes for Karen and myself. The kids were adults now, living their own lives, but Saturday breakfast had remained our cherished tradition, even when they visited. When the doorbell rang, something in my chest tightened. We weren't expecting anyone. Karen looked at me from the table with that look we shared after so many years together, the one that says, "Who could that be?" without needing words. I opened the door and barely recognized the woman standing there. Angela Dominguez looked every one of her 47 years and more. Her face was deeply lined with stress and disappointment, her hair thin and completely gray. She was wearing a wrinkled Walmart uniform, the navy blue vest and khaki pants that represented the peak of her professional achievements. Her car, visible in the driveway, was a dented 2015 Nissan Tsuru that had clearly seen better days. "Hello, Sam," she said, as if 18 years of silence could be bridged with a casual greeting. I didn't invite her in. "Angela, what do you want?" "I want to see my children." The words hung in the air like smoke from a fire. Behind me, I heard Karen's footsteps stop in the hallway. She was listening, ready to support me, but letting me handle this moment that had been building for almost 2 decades. "Your children?" I kept my voice level and controlled. Which children would those be? Angela's carefully rehearsed composure cracked slightly. Miguel, Sarah, and Emma. I know they're adults now, but they're still my children. I gave birth to them. I have rights. I almost laughed out loud. Rights. After 18 years of absolutely nothing, no calls, no cards, no child support, no interest in their lives whatsoever, she wanted to claim rights. You gave up those rights when you left in 2007, I said calmly. Legally and practically. Karen adopted them years ago. You lost any legal claim when you abandoned them. I was young and confused, Angela said, the excuse sounding practiced and hollow. Ricardo promised me things would be different in Juarez. I thought I would come back eventually, when I got my life together. Eventually took 18 years. She looked past me, trying to see into the house she once lived in, desperately searching for any sign of the children she had abandoned. I know I made mistakes, Sam, but I'm their mother. Blood is blood. They need to know I want to be a part of their lives now. It was then that Miguel's voice cut through the morning air with the precision of a razor. No, we really don't. I turned to see him standing behind Karen in the hallway. My oldest son was 23 now, a mechanical engineer with Bombardier, earning 28,000 pesos a month, engaged to his college girlfriend, Rebecca. He had come over to help me fix a leaky faucet in the upstairs bathroom, as he did most weekends. He stood 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered from years of baseball and good nutrition, confident and successful. Everything a father hopes his son will become. Miguel, Angela breathed, reaching for him as if she could touch a ghost. You've grown so much. You look just like your father when I met him. I'm nothing like him, Miguel said firmly, but without yelling. He stayed. He raised us. He worked extra jobs when he had to and never abandoned his responsibilities because life got hard. Sarah appeared next, having heard the commotion from the garage where she had been unloading art supplies for her studio. At 21, she was preparing for her 4th local exhibition. Her talent having evolved far beyond those early refrigerator drawings into sophisticated paintings that sold for 1,000 to 2,000 pesos each in local galleries. She took one look at Angela and crossed her arms defensively. Let me guess, Sarah said, her artist's eye taking in every detail of Angela's appearance. Life didn't turn out as you planned in Juarez. And now you want to play mom to successful adult children you had no part in raising. Angela's eyes filled with tears that looked more desperate than genuine. I never stopped thinking about you, any of you. I just needed to find myself, to figure out who I was outside of being a wife and mother. Find yourself. Sarah's voice carried a hurt but controlled tone. We were 3, 5, and 18 months old. We needed you as a mother, not for you to go on a selfish journey of self-discovery at our expense. Emma arrived last, having gotten Miguel's urgent text. At 20, she was completing her 3rd year at the Autonomous University of Querétaro, double majoring in political science and communication. Already planning for law school with the kind of focused determination that reminded everyone of me at that age. She looked at Angela with the same cool assessment she used when preparing for debate competitions. You look disappointed, Emma observed calmly. Were you expecting some kind of tearful reunion? Maybe you were hoping we had grown up damaged and needy, desperate for motherly approval. Angela wiped her eyes with a trembling hand. I was hoping you would at least give me a chance to explain. I'm your mother. I carried you for 9 months. I gave birth to you. Karen Estrada is our mother, Emma said with the calm of someone who has thought this through many times. She earned that title by being there for 18 years. You were just the woman who gave birth to us. The cruelty of that statement would have devastated me if it had been directed at someone deserving of compassion. But Angela had lost the right to gentle treatment when she chose her own perceived happiness over her children's fundamental need for stability and love. Can I fix this? Angela pleaded, looking desperately between the 4 of us, her voice taking on a frantic tone. I have time now. Ricardo and I. That didn't work out. I'm free to focus on family. I want to be a grandmother to your future children. Too late, Miguel said with devastating simplicity, like 17 years and 51 weeks too late. Angela turned to me, perhaps thinking I might be more sympathetic, more willing to forgive past sins for the sake of some imagined future reconciliation. Sam, surely you understand. People make mistakes. I was in a bad place mentally back then. I've grown since then. I've learned from my mistakes. I studied her face carefully, seeing the desperation and entitlement warring there in equal measure. She still didn't get it, even after all these years. She thought this was about forgiveness, about second chances, about healing old wounds, and moving on as some kind of blended family. She couldn't comprehend that there was nothing left to heal because we had built something infinitely better in her complete absence. "You're right," I said quietly, my voice carrying 18 years of hard-won wisdom. "People do make mistakes, but abandoning your children is not a mistake, it's a choice. And choices have consequences that don't just go away because you finally regret them. They're adults now," Angela said, grasping at straws with growing desperation. "They can make their own decisions about having a relationship with me. You can't keep me from them." "We just did," Sarah said with finality. The silence that followed was deep and complete. Angela looked at her biological children, successful, confident, loved, and utterly whole without her. And maybe she finally understood the magnitude of what she had given up. These were not the broken, needy, damaged children she may have hoped to find. They were complete human beings who had not only survived her abandonment, but had thrived because of her absence. "I see," Angela said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I guess I understand." She turned to leave, then stopped and looked back one last time. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." "Are you sorry you left? Or are you sorry it didn't work out with Ricardo?" Emma asked with the precision of a prosecutor. Angela couldn't answer. She had no answer because we all knew the truth. She was sorry her life hadn't turned out as she had imagined, but she wasn't truly sorry for leaving because she still didn't understand what she had destroyed. She walked to her dented Tsuru and drove away, probably back to her studio apartment in Juarez, to her job at Walmart, to whatever was left of the life she had chosen over us. We watched until her taillights disappeared around the corner. Then Karen stepped forward and wrapped me in her arms in the kind of hug that had sustained our family for over a decade. "Are you okay?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. I nodded. "More than okay." Miguel, Sarah, and Emma gathered around us in the kind of family hug we had perfected over the years. Genuine, warm, chosen rather than obligated. This was our victory. Not revenge in any traditional sense, but something much more satisfying. We had built a family based on choice, commitment, and unconditional love. Angela's absence had not broken us. It had made us stronger, more resilient, more grateful for what we had. That afternoon, as Karen and I sat in our backyard watching the sunset over the Sierra Gorda, she asked if I felt vindicated by Angela's pathetic return. "No," I said honestly. "I feel grateful. Grateful that she left when she did. If she hadn't, maybe I would have never learned what real love looks like. The kids might have never known what it means to be truly wanted and valued. Karen, they might have never had you as their mother." My revenge was not dramatic or cruel in any traditional sense. It was simply this. I had raised 3 incredible human beings who chose me. They chose Karen. They chose the family we had built together through 18 years of daily commitment. Angela could go back to her empty apartment in Juarez, to whatever was left of the life she had traded us for, but she could never reclaim or undo what she had thrown away. Some doors, once closed by our own choices, never reopen. Some opportunities, once rejected, never return. Angela learned that truth 18 years too late, and that was the most perfect justice any of us could have asked for.